It didn't just start with the Secretary General of the party arriving from China after a long visit there and spending time with the party there. This started a while back. Sam, a lot happens in this country just
in a very short time.
Deputy President wasn't there. Many questions were raised because at that time there were several occasions that he had been missing. He had not been accompanying the president, which the country has become accustomed to seeing. When you see the president, he's most likely being welcomed by the deputy president unless he's out of the country. So then after that, people were raising questions, and eventually he came out and said that he had taken a trip to the mountain to go reflect, meditate, and the reflections were on this country. After reflections on this country, there's a Sunday. I don't know why you're laughing, Yvonne. No. Governor Kahiga, let me just say what happened. Governor Mutahi Kahiga has spoken, said the many things that he did, and the deputy president was quiet all through.
Yeah.
Still had been reflecting on the fate of the country. Fast forward, I think last Saturday.
Yeah.
Then we see him. Here we are, faced with the situation of what Cleophas Malala may have come out and issued a letter speaking to the likes of Oscar Sudi, Gathonio Mushomba, Cabinet Secretaries Kipchumba Murkomen, and Moses Kuria on what they may have said. And if you have to analyze, you'll see that each of those has actually said something against either the deputy president. Questions arise as to the disciplinary action that is being taken by Cleophas Malala as the Secretary General that has now resulted into all this name-calling, reminding him that actually he was not elected by members of the UDA party. I've seen statements saying that he's actually acting UDA Secretary General. And of course, the genesis of his...
Those that just, helps us understand. And I'd like us to listen to MP Oscar Sudi in response.
Mtu mwingine kwanza wakutisha. Mimi nilipita vitisho kitambo. Mimi ni mtu ninafanya vita mingi. Hiyo vita yenu ni kidogo na ni baridi.
Yeah, and then
kiti yako ni bure. Lakini kama kiti yako ni tamu, lazima watu wakuwe wanang'ang'ania, wanataka hiyo utamu yenye wewe unasikia kukalia hiyo kiti.
Jamila,
even
what's happening?
I don't know what I found very interesting was suddenly imelipuka tu. Like we're just chilling, dealing with a lot many other things. Maybe it's not what we are being made to think it is in terms of how bad it is. Because imagine the optics that's been happening in the past just few days. From those conversations over the weekend, to UDA Secretary General Malala coming, releasing that statement while in China, to the immediate reactions to it, maybe it a tweet. Is UDA, chama kinachotawala, the vehicle that the president used to get into power.
Barely 2 years.
Barely 2 years after they're planning to have an election very soon, yeah, chama. And then sasa you have a letter in a release inataja majina. Like Malala, he's now being called acting Secretary General the past few hours in statements that have been released on social media, because there's an issue going on in West Pokot. There's supposed to have been UDA elections tomorrow. Then apparently tu ambayo haiko imeanlishiwa hapo hivyo kuona reaction yani, because this is basically what everyone is talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Linus, before we get into what this is, I want to hear your take on that. Let's find one of those matches that were lit from the Secretary General, ensuring party discipline, or what's happening here?
Not at all. To the contrary, I see this as a tragedy on the wider political culture of the country. And what we are seeing, what we are witnessing is actually a continuation of a culture that started, especially in 2013, with the kind of boring to just sit and work. It's found boring to do what you are elected to do. And what you need to immediately do is to look, how many times do you remember, even in 2013, 2014, he spoke about 2022. And then there was the Kumi Yangu.
Kumia William.
Gachagua is now the deputy president, sitting where Deputy President William Ruto sat 10, 11 years ago. Now, imagine the scenario where you are sitting as the deputy president on social media, and there's now reference to generational change. Yeah, 10 years from now. So meaning this is an admission that there is something that is going on in terms of preparing for 2032. Here is something else. And in Kimasai, we say you don't show the animal you're going to slaughter the knife. The activities elsewhere, those who are being fronted to for that position. So in the governor of Nyeri talking about this.
Any threats from Honorable Cleophas Malala are just hot air because he holds no...
Actually favor because there's a lot of friendly fire, accidental shootings and all that because...
And friendly fire kills, eh?
Yeah, friendly fire kills, just like hostile fire.
Yes, Sam.
And you see, if you look at it, it's been November 2022 when the deputy president traveled to Baringo. There was a funeral there, and he said that people who have been living near forests will now be allowed to go and cut trees there so that they can continue the economic affairs of the communities affected, and eventually came up with a plan on how they would be in a position to, yes, harvest the mature trees, but also continue to put traps in State House to ensure that nobody, including the Azimio leader, gets access to State House. And of course, people are wondering, okay, fine, so the government of the day is reparations. And he came out and said, because I think some members of parliament from Muranga County were particularly talking about that Rigathi Gachagua has had his time. 2027 should be another opportunity to change the running mate with considerations for the Kiharu Member of Parliament. He came out and said that, don't worry about this. These are young people that are expressing their ambitions, but the time will come. I am not a worried man. Then remember that once upon a time, the Jubilee Party was a party within the Azimio coalition. Then a few things started happening, and part of it moved out of the Azimio coalition and moved towards the Kenya Kwanza alliance. You remember the deputy president actually presenting the team of Sabina Chege in State House in a meeting that was attended by President William Ruto. So trying to reunite the leaders from the mountain region. So he continues with that relationship. And if you speak to many members of parliament from Mount Kenya, for issues that they may want addressed, and that may be the reason of all this frustration to an extent that now the president and the Rift Valley communication teams, then you wonder, so is it the communication teams? Is it the members of the UDA party? Is it the deputy president? Who is at fault here? And how...
Deputy president somewhat.
I think so, because remember when you had Moses Kuria in the CS here in studio with Gituku, and he talked about why they were doing the Limurus. He talked about the first one and why they did it back then, and the second one and why it was done. And now there's this third one, because those meetings are organized during significant times, especially for that region, and decisions need to be made about the leadership, about the stake of the people in that region, about what the expectations should be, about how to support and rally behind whoever they pick as the leader. And of course, this whole issue about the one man, one vote, one shilling. Remember, the conversation had been there in the past, but then it came back again in a big way during that Limuru 3 meeting, which, of course, was given a wide berth by leaders in the current administration. There's even those calls of having Uhuru Kenyatta now as the leader of the region. And then you have the deputy president speak a few days later. It was a roadside site for the two of them ever being in one side together. And then you have him speak and saying, mtoto wetu, sindio, ni sawa, like with bygones be bygones, we are friends again, just after the Limuru 3 meeting.
Right.
And I think this shows that it is time now to even join hands with someone who you did not want to see a year and 8 months ago, if he's someone who will give you that support that you want, that kungwa mkono, that we got your back, that you want from the region, where you want to be seen as...
Should be equal for everyone. So it would seem that the deputy president finds himself in a bit of a tough spot.
Look, I think the deputy president is aware that politics in Kenya and the actual world over is local. You really have to first resonate where you come from.
Yeah.
And in Kenya, you know very well that you have to have a good command position, which was talking about one man, one vote, one shilling. But again, it's just the beginning of another big debate. And you heard the president today talking about system, because we thought, oh, that should take the money to the regions, that should take the resources to the grassroots. Shortly after that, and Jaramogi Oginga Odinga said, they were just giving in to the 2010. We came to the realization that the best arrangement is to again redistribute this back to the grassroots. And let's not fight governments and distribute money to the center. Now there's this one man, one shilling, one vote. And let's be frank about it. It has ethnic undertones in it, because you're talking about, is it, you go to shopping centers and say,
here's your
queue here
for this region and all that. We're having very silly conversations. And I think it's really sad, because we just celebrated 60 years of murmurs and complaints about the Ruto Agregade Gachagua administration. Whether it's taxes, state of the economy, people are complaining. They're saying, things have changed. This is not what you've promised us. Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was coming in, was called Kamwana in the region. And when everyone is not benefiting, then everyone is suffering. And I think that realization can really be helpful, especially when it becomes generational, because some of the conversations...
Kenya, which constitutes senators representing the 47 counties, and a vote in the Senate on such an issue is taken by the 47 delegations. So it's over health. Who are you treating? You're treating people. So you receive resources based on the number of people in your particular county, based on the health services. Then there's also the equalization advisory from the institutions like Commission on Revenue Allocations. So then CRA is involved, and then the Senate. So everybody, a predominant example that has been used, if that is wrong, there's a platform where that can be resolved. It is at the National Assembly where representatives of all the people across the country is held.
Already there.
They're there. If there's a complaint about probably Kiambu County should have more than 12 constituencies and Nyeri County should have more than 6 constituencies, find the answers and actually resolve those questions without any further question that should be coming. Because when you look at the leaders like, I think it's the former governor of Garissa, Ali Korane, coming up.
Look at just the pattern of the responses. It follows the same old patterns, Kadu and Kanu. Kanu was pro everything centralize everything and distribute from the center. And Kadu did was to basically lock out and marginalize the larger part of the landmass that is Kenya. And when you look at the response, were marginalized. So this thing, if not handled well, can be